Rain poured heavily outside the towering skyscraper of Langston & Company, a building of glass and ambition that scraped the stormy sky. Inside, the marble lobby gleamed, the air smelled of expensive coffee, and employees hurried about in crisp suits. Everyone's eyes were fixed on deadlines, profits, and promotions. No one noticed the man quietly mopping near the elevator. Samuel Reed had been the company's janitor for nearly 10 years. He moved with quiet efficiency, his back slightly hunched, his uniform faded. His name tag had lost half its letters, and yet he wore it proudly. Beneath that weary exterior lived a man with calloused hands, a gentle smile, and a secret the world had long forgotten. Few people spoke to him beyond a quick nod or polite, "Thank you." To most, Samuel was invisible, the man who cleaned their messes after they left, the one who didn't belong in their circle of importance. But what they didn't know was that Samuel once had a dream, a big one. He had once been a musician. Long ago, he played guitar at local cafes and street corners, singing songs that made people stop in their tracks. But life had other plans. When his wife fell sick, and medical bills piled up, Samuel sold his instruments and took any job he could find. The music faded, replaced by the hum of vacuum cleaners and the squeak of mop wheels. Yet in the quiet hours of the night, when the office was empty and the city lights glowed like distant stars, Samuel would still hum to himself, softly, tenderly, like a man clinging to a dream that refused to die. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, humility, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive and reminds the world that every soul has a story worth hearing. The day everything changed started with an announcement. "Attention, all staff," the HR manager's cheerful voice echoed through the building's speakers. "Next Friday, we'll be holding our annual Langston Talent Night. Everyone is invited to showcase their hidden talents, singing, dancing, painting, poetry, anything that shows who you really are beyond your desk." The announcement was met with laughter and chatter. Most employees rolled their eyes. It was a silly tradition, a social gimmick to please the CEO. But one person paused. Samuel, standing in the hallway with his mop, froze for a moment. A soft spark lit in his eyes. He hadn't performed in years. Could he? Should he? That night, when everyone had gone home, Samuel lingered in the break room, staring at the company's old acoustic guitar hanging on the wall, a decoration, unused and forgotten. He picked it up carefully, as if touching an old friend. His fingers trembled, the strings cold under his calloused skin. And then, without thinking, he began to play. The notes were rough at first, the melody uncertain. But as the minutes passed, something beautiful filled the room, a song born of loss, hope, and years of silent endurance. The sound echoed through the empty office floors, dancing in the air like a whisper of who he used to be. He didn't know that someone was listening. Evelyn Langston, the CEO's daughter, had stayed late to prepare a presentation. Hearing the music, she followed the sound and found Samuel sitting by the vending machine, eyes closed, lost in his song. For a long time, she didn't move, just stood there, watching the janitor play with more emotion than most artists on stage. When he finished, he looked up, startled to see her. She smiled softly. "That was beautiful," she said. Samuel smiled awkwardly, embarrassed. "Just an old tune, ma'am. Something from a long time ago." Evelyn tilted her head. "You should sign up for the talent show." He laughed quietly, shaking his head. "I don't think that's for people like me." But she looked at him with genuine warmth. "Talent doesn't have a title, Mr. Reed. You should do it." Her words stayed with him long after she left. That night, for the first time in years, Samuel allowed himself to hope. The week flew by, and soon, the day of the event arrived. The company auditorium buzzed with excitement. Employees filled the seats, the stage decorated with silver lights and banners that read, "Discover the talent within." Executives sat in the front row, including CEO Richard Langston himself, Evelyn's father, a man known for his sharp eyes and colder heart. He believed in results, not feelings. To him, people were either assets or liabilities. Samuel waited backstage, nervous and out of place among the younger, confident staff members. Some laughed when they saw him holding the old guitar. "The janitor's performing," one whispered. "This should be interesting." He smiled politely, pretending not to hear. When his name was called, the room went silent. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as the janitor stepped onto the stage. The spotlight hit his face, and for a moment, he looked every bit the man they underestimated, a worn uniform, wrinkled hands, tired eyes. But then he began to play. At first, the audience was quiet, waiting for something to mock. But within seconds, the sound filled the room, soft, soulful, aching with years of untold pain and buried dreams. His voice was rough yet haunting, each note carrying the weight of everything he had lost and everything he still hoped to find. The song told a story of struggle, sacrifice, love, and faith. It spoke of nights working alone when no one saw you, of carrying burdens in silence, of finding beauty in small moments. It was not just a song, it was his life poured into melody. By the time he finished, there wasn't a sound in the room. Not a whisper, not even a breath. Then, slowly, people began to clap. One by one, the sound grew until the hall erupted in applause that shook the walls. Some stood. Others wiped away tears. Evelyn's eyes glistened. And for the first time in years, even her father, the CEO, stood, clapping slowly but firmly, his gaze locked on the janitor who had just humbled an entire company. After the show, Richard Langston called Samuel into his office. The janitor came nervously, holding his cap in his hands. The CEO was silent for a long moment before speaking. "You know, Mr. Reed, I've seen many people chase success in this building. But tonight, you reminded me what true success really means." Samuel bowed his head. "Thank you, sir. I just wanted to share something that means a lot to me." The CEO smiled faintly, "Something rare. Evelyn told me you gave up your music for family. That takes strength. We could use more of that in this company. I'd like you to consider a new position, Community Engagement Coordinator. You'll help us organize events, inspire others, and maybe even bring more humanity into what we do here." Samuel was speechless. "Sir, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," the CEO said gently. "Because you've earned it." Tears filled Samuel's eyes as he shook the man's hand. For the first time in decades, he felt seen. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. The company launched new programs to support employee passions and recognize the hidden talents among staff. Samuel led music nights, charity events, and community drives. The man who once mopped floors now stood as a symbol of hope and resilience. But fame never changed him. He still greeted everyone with the same humble smile, still helped the cleaning crew when they were short-staffed, still stayed late to make sure the building shone. His music reached beyond the walls of the office. Videos of his performance went viral, inspiring thousands around the world. Messages poured in from people who had once been overlooked, thanking him for reminding them that their worth wasn't defined by their job title. And one night, months later, as Samuel stood by the window of his small apartment, looking out at the city lights, he picked up his guitar again. The same one from the office, gifted to him by Evelyn. He played the same melody, the one that had changed everything. But this time, it didn't sound like sorrow. It sounded like peace. Because sometimes, all it takes is one song, one moment, one act of courage to make the world see what it had been blind to all along.